Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, yeah, is it hammer time for Michigan? We're talking postseason ban. There's been a lot of people that have been chiming in on this huge story. It's pretty much been as the world turns.
And now for the next 30 minutes, as the world turns. Brought to you today by Gentle Joy.
Yep, brought to you by Gentle Joy. Anyway, this has been really a hot topic all over YouTube. There's been multiple folks chiming in on this, what they think should happen to Michigan. Of course, it depends on whether you're, pro-Michigan or pro-rules, I guess you'd say. Or maybe you just don't like Michigan at all. That could be like an Ohio State fan, for example. But Josh Pate chimed in on it and multiple others. So I'm going to show you some examples of this and what everybody's talking about. And at the end of this, I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen to them. And I've been studying on this a long time. I've got a pretty good idea how this is going to end. The biggest questions that we've got to take a look at is the national championship. Will they get to keep that or not? We got to talk about postseason ban. We're going to discuss that a little bit later on. Also fines, scholarships, all those sorts of things. And also what's going to happen with SHERRONE Moore. And we already know that Harbaugh's got like a 4-year show cause because of other violations that he did, not the sign stealing. Of course, Connor Stallions and all of that. But Rich Eisen, who is a Michigan alum and loves Michigan, he brought up something that's pretty important that I think will affect this.
This is one of those hearings where you can call witnesses, and if this committee feels compelled to strip a title, and I'm Michigan, I call Charlie Baker to the stand. President Baker, what led you to believe that Michigan was winning fair and square if they were going to beat Washington in the national championship game? Your thoughts, sir? And just see what he answers. And again, it's just, listen, obviously, I come to this conversation with a certain bias, fully admit.
This is the one thing that the NCAA is going to struggle with, and that Rich Eisen just brought up. Granted, it's easy to look at this and say they should have to vacate every single win where Connor Stallions was on the sideline. That's pretty obvious. That's what they would do in any circumstance along these lines. They did that to Kentucky, for example. They had to vacate 11 wins from a few years ago because they had a couple of players on the team that were getting paid through a hospital and weren't working for it. Somehow they kept that under wraps. I have no idea how. If that had been Tennessee, it'd have been all over the world. So that's what typically would happen in this. They would have to vacate 2.5 years of wins, and they would have to vacate the national title or any other championship they won. But Charlie Baker has painted himself into a corner. He absolutely did say they won fair and square. And Rich Eisen makes a great point. I would put him on the witness stand and say, did you not say this? And then I'd say, rest my case on that one. So that's going to be real difficult for them to take the natty away, given Charlie Baker's earlier stance. And he is president of the NCAA. Now, here are some folks who are absolutely not Michigan fans. And this is Buckeye Scoop. They've honestly done as good a job as anybody of keeping up with this Michigan thing. Now, granted, they can't stand the Wolverines, but they've been kind of spot on a lot of things. They brought up something very interesting about SHERRONE Moore and whether or not he's going to get through this.
And the word coming out of the agent community very, very strongly is that Michigan's moving on from SHERRONE Moore. And I think it's sourced. There's two things that are kind of working at the same time. One, Michigan is going to need to present some heads to the NCAA to avoid the worst possible types of penalties from them. And obviously with Harbaugh gone, with Yoko Ono leaving to go to Florida, I think for Michigan, that's not going to be enough. And they're going to have to offer up Ward Manuel, and I believe, and what the agents believe, is SHERRONE Moore. And when SHERRONE Moore gets that show cause, that's going to provide the predicate for Michigan to negotiate a buyout with him. And
yeah, so those are interesting points. He could easily get a show cause out of this. I think what he's going to get is probably a 4-game suspension and possibly a 1-year show cause. That would give them the opportunity to end the relationship with him and pay him off. I don't know if you can coach under a show cause or not. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know if that's ever really been pressed. But I doubt they get rid of Ward Manuel. I mean, they just made him commissioner of the College Football Playoff Committee, and he's been in charge of the whole athletic department that's had nothing but trouble. So that probably won't happen. The Sherrone Moore thing, I think he'll survive it. I do. Even though Buckeye Scoop is usually kind of spot on a lot of things. This one, I'm not sure of. Now we need to talk about Josh Pate. He's talking about a multi-year postseason ban for the sign stealing. And in this, he was responding to a tweet, and he said, for several level 1 violations, if upheld, massive fines, loss of scholarship, and a multi-year postseason ban, which is a heck of a statement. We're going to talk about that as well. Now, Josh usually kind of stays neutral on a lot of these things. He'll have an opinion, but normally not too harsh a take. And he said, hey, if proven. But a 2-year postseason ban or 3-year or something like that that'd be harsh. That'd be real harsh. It wouldn't be as bad as taking away the natty, but it's pretty bad. Now, obviously, if you're an Ohio State fan, you think this is how the NCAA is going to come into this thing.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Yeah, guns blazing, so to speak. Whereas if you're a Michigan fan, you think the NCAA is going to be more like this.
Cake is my weakness, along with speed and strength. Strength is my weakness.
Yeah, strength is their weakness. And I can understand that. They have been pretty much toothless for a long time. And of course, what brings me into this and why I have a personal stake in this has to do with what I believe Connor Stallions did to Tennessee and Clemson in 2022. I'm not going to go heavy into the details because I've covered that, and if you've watched my channel, you've seen it. But it is believed by many journalists and yours truly that he sent signs and signals that he had scouted or pre-scouted against Tennessee and Clemson when he bought tickets for those games and sent a scout and had our signals and signs. And all of a sudden, South Carolina went from scoring 16 points in 2 ball games, averaging 8 points a game, to scoring 9 straight touchdowns against Tennessee.
9 times.
9 times.
And then going and beating Clemson at Clemson, 2 playoff-bound teams when they couldn't beat anybody prior. And then after that, they went 2-7 with the same quarterback, same head coach. Make it make sense. Oh, and they had their special little wristband against Tennessee that they didn't have against anybody else all year until Tennessee game. And then didn't use the wristbands the next year at Neyland after they'd scored 9 straight touchdowns. Make that make sense. They had the defensive signals.
Allegedly.
And again, like I said, I've covered the crap out of that. And for those of y'all that like, oh, well, that was 2 years ago, let it go. Let it go. Dr. Evil, tell him.
Scott, you just don't get it, do you? You don't.
Yeah, you just don't get it. You don't. And that's okay. I've been an evil YouTuber for 30 freaking years. Actually for 2, but anyway, you get the point. Now, here's what should have happened. Michigan had a great opportunity when Jim Harbaugh ran off for fear of getting show cost to oblivion. That was their opportunity to say, okay, we're caught. They've got all this information. They've got all the facts that they need to nail us on the sign stealing. Let's figure out a deal. Let's cooperate. Let's turn over the evidence like Tennessee did with Jeremy Pruitt when they literally collected all the evidence for the NCAA, handed it to them when Jeremy Pruitt paid $64,000 to players.
Got the evidence. Put the evidence in the car. Put the evidence in the car.
And we took it on the chin, but we fully cooperated. We lost 25 scholarships, $8 million, and 2 years of pain in the butt. And that was Michigan's opportunity to do the exact same thing. They could have said, okay, we're going to cooperate fully. Here's the stuff. And they could have probably got hit with about the same thing. And they wouldn't be hit with postseason ban. I don't know about the Natty, probably be the same situation whether they lose that or not. But they could have come off a lot easier than this. They have fought this to the nth degree. And their president, Ono, just took off. He pulled a Jim Harbaugh and did a brave Sir Ono.
Brave Sir Robin ran away. No! Bravely ran away.
I didn't.
And he was gone. And he had just signed an 8-year contract extension. He left because he knew the hammer's coming. It's coming. Why else would you leave an 8-year deal? And he had told everybody how excited he was to sign that extension. That doesn't make any sense. He sees the forest for the trees. But they could have cooperated, turned over evidence, and probably got hit pretty hard, but not like they're going to get now. Here's what I think is going to happen, and I'm somewhat confident of it. I don't think they're going to take the natty away because Charlie Baker has painted himself in a corner. He really can't take it away and have any credibility moving forward because anything he says will just be absurd. What do you believe? But what I do think they're going to do is knock the crap out of him with a financial fine. I think it'll be to the tune of about $15 million. Tennessee's was the highest ever at $8 million. I think they're going to double that basically to 15. I think they're going to hit them with a 30 scholarship hit, which in reality is not that big a deal. We're getting ready to go from 85 to 105 with the House settlement. So they'll have to give up 5 scholarships for the next 6 years. So they'll still have 100 players on there. And with NIL, how big a deal is that? Whereas that would have been huge back in the day. I mean, it hurt Tennessee. Our first year, we had to give up 12 scholarships, and our defense was as thin as water. Had it not been for Hendon's great offensive play and Heupel's tremendous design, we wouldn't have won any ball games. We won 7 that year. And then 11, 9, and 10. But that was their opportunity to kind of get out of this mess. So not only do I think they get the big fine and the 2-year show cause, not give up the natty, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Moore. I think he's going to get a 4-game suspension and probably a 1-year show cause. And then we're going to find out, can you coach with a 1-year show cause at the same school? You probably couldn't at another school because no school would hire you. But you might be able to with a show cause at the same school you're at. But I think he's going to get a 4-game suspension. The 2 games not going to satisfy the NCAA. And that's for getting rid of 52 tweets from Connor Stallions that he erased. Connor will probably get a minimum of a 10-year show cause, possibly a lifetime ban. Jim Harbaugh will get a minimum of 10-year show cause, probably a lifetime ban. It'll be one or the other. It's going to be at least 10 years and possibly a lifetime ban, which doesn't matter to Harbaugh. He doesn't care. He's in the NFL anyway, and at his age, 10-year would be the same. Connor, he could have cooperated, come clean, and done all of that and possibly gotten like a 3-year show cause. But given the fact that he can't even remember if he was on Central Michigan's sideline, which is absurd, they're going to hit him really hard. And I doubt he ever coaches in college football again or analyzes or whatever it was he was doing there. Although he only made $60,000 a year, he was an analyst, but he was standing on the sideline literally right next to the offensive coordinator and Jim Harbaugh, which is amazing. I don't know how you get that close to the head coach during a ball game or the coordinators unless you're pretty special. You would think you'd pay somebody like that more than $60,000, wouldn't you? Funny. But they had no idea what he was doing. Anyway, that's what I think is going to happen to him. And the 2-year postseason ban, they could have eliminated a lot of that. Have they cooperated and given up a 1-year postseason ban, which would have just been, you had 5 losses last year. Just give up the postseason that 1 year, cooperate with them, take a big fine, lose some scholarships, and move on. But no, you had to fight to the nth degree. So now you're probably going to get a 2-year postseason ban, which is really that's going to hurt big time. You'll probably keep your natty and lose a bunch of scholarships and pay a bunch of money. Because the NCAA, by the way, operates based off of those fines and penalties, and they're going to want that $15 million to pay all their people.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
They love a big fine. Tennessee's been paying for them for years. Anyway, that's what I think is going to happen. Now, we'll find out pretty soon. June 6th is when the hearings begin. It's a 2-day deal. And then within 45 days, they'll announce what the penalties will be. And Michigan will probably appeal and who knows what. But I would say at that point, we'll know what the actual penalties are going to be. And I'm thinking 2-year postseason ban. I think that's the one thing they can do to him since Charlie Baker has he hadn't eliminated taking the national title, but like I said, it's not going to be easy after he said those things. That's the one thing Rich Eisen brought up, and he's spot on that one. I would make him testify. Anyway, that's what I think is going to happen. We'll find out soon enough. This is going to get wilder as we get closer to it. It's As the World Turns, folks. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 hit that button right there. It won't cost you a dime. And it'll help you get my videos, keep up with this stuff. And right over here is the most recent video. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.
Congratulations, you played yourself.